You would think by now I would have brought up the script like as part of, getting everything ready. No, she has to do it as soon as she clicks.
Look, there's a process we have that we almost always do.
But I'm not going to prepare for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make I'm going to put so many extra steps into the process. It'll make it better.
It keeps it fresh.
Fresh and freshly frustrating. See, there we go. I'm warming up my vocal cords.
Good. Let me know when you are ready.
Hello and welcome. Yes, I'm here. I'm ready.
Excellent. Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, ThatDarnKitteh. Kitteh and I are both going into the story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Well, that's great. How am I supposed to follow that up? Each segment we intend each segment we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way. This is Mistborn Abridged, a blind read through. And today we'll be covering chapter 16.
Chapter 16!
Oh god, the audio of I think I just heard my own peaking. Anyway, we tried. We're entertaining. Look at us.
Or extremely off-putting. You decide.
It's up to you. Extremely.
This is the part of the Choose Your Own Adventure segment, dear viewers, where you get to choose, as the name suggests, whether or not you are entertained or off-put. But we hope you are entertained. We'll get to the chapter eventually, we promise.
At some point. Yes. Preamble.
Speaking of the chapter, that point is now!
Yay!
Okay. So chapter 16, I thought this was a fantastic chapter. We get a little bit of information from Sazed, and for all of my issues in the past with Kelsier and his injuries, we certainly do not skip over Vin's this chapter, and I was thrilled to see that. Overall, I really enjoyed this and thought this was a strong start to a new section of the book. What was your experience, Kitteh?
Yeah, that's definitely it. It's after the epic action that we've just been through. We needed a sort of change of pace and the recovery. So I appreciated that. I knew that we weren't going to get a crazy amount of things happening, but we were going to get exposition, we were going to get some information and character work as opposed to just all the action, because we've just come off a huge crazy crescendo and it's like, okay, characters have almost died, let us recover, but the stuff continues. And I say stuff as in like the intrigue continues, the value of it all continues. It's not a fluff chapter, but yeah, after the hecticness of the previous chapters, it was a pleasing change of pace for me.
Agreed.
It changed space. We're in a different area.
True.
Yeah.
Very well then. Shall we get into the epigraph?
Epic graph.
Okay.
Many think that my journey started in Clenium, that great city of wonder. They forget that I was no king when my quest began. Far from it. I think it would do men well to remember that this task was not begun by emperors, priests, prophets, or generals. It didn't start in Clenium or Cordell, nor did it come from the great nations of the East or the fiery empire of the West. It began in a small, unimportant town whose name would mean nothing to you. It began with a youth, the son of a blacksmith, who was unremarkable in every way, except perhaps in his ability to get into trouble. It began with me.
My first immediate thought reading through that just now is, oh, it's the Shire. And a hobbit. A youth who can get into trouble.
Mm. Yes. Did you find there was a tone shift here? When you first read it?
Yes.
What was your feeling? Because my main feeling was about tonal shift, but I guess that's the whole idea, is that we suddenly were in the Shire. We were on the road. We were in the adventure. We were, am I the chosen one, or I am the chosen one? There's enemies all over the place, and I was like, oh, by the way, and it puts us back into the Shire.
This particular epigraph felt very much to me, for the first time, like the writer is not Brandon Sanderson, epigraph man, is writing for someone to read this. It's almost as if he's writing specifically to describe the archetypal hero.
Yeah.
This is continuing to play into the young hero, the Luke Skywalker type character, or what's the Wheel of Time character?
Rand.
The Asimar who's not an Asimar?
The Asimar who's that's Rand, I think.
Yes, Rand al'Thor, from my very limited knowledge. The other epigraphs didn't feel that way to me.
Yes, that is true. That it felt like the other epigraphs are, this is for himself. This is his diary. This is his journal. This is not for anyone else. It's his own feelings. This over here is like, I will tell you about me. So actually, it makes sense that now that you've said that, it makes sense that maybe after all of that, okay, and that being the epic deepness and all of this, something like this happens. Okay, now I'm going to start and rewrite. I've come back to where I was before. He's not in. I'm not saying he's back in his village, but I'm saying he's come back from the adventure or whatever, and now he's writing it down for someone else to read it. This is maybe the beginning of the religion that he builds around himself, or something like that. Even though I don't think he would. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, this is something that other people would read, but would he really want people to ever think of him as coming, I suppose, as humble? It's like,
well,
I suppose as long as he came from there. Yeah.
Well, there's an important subtle thing here that I need to mention. The phrase, they forgot that I was no king when my quest began. So the person that is writing this is a king, not a god, not a lord ruler. So
he might be a lord, might not be a lord ruler as of yet.
Yeah, or he hasn't like set his sights or his ambition to that quite yet. I can see a king, a man of the people, wanting that humble origin as a way to inspire the masses. But comparing it against what it means to be a god, to be the Lord ruler, it's an interesting thing.
I guess you can start with this premise of I was just like you, but then I guess they wanted that as well. I mean, if we're just going back to the whole Christ element, which happens in a lot of stories or a lot of religions, is the person, the chosen one, being of the people as well. So okay, it makes sense. He can still ascend all the way. La Ascension. That's a reference to further books. Anyway, I just the tonal shift was the biggest thing for me, but I think it's not a different person. It's maybe a different writing reason. Maybe he started this in somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. The other thing I'm thinking is a previous passage where he thinks on the lords and ladies of court. Up until this point, I had presumed that Epigraph Man was a noble, if not already a king.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is certainly... Yeah, it certainly comes into metaphorical conflict with my preconceived notions, given what I have read. Of
Yes.
course, we shouldn't rule out the possibility that this person is lying. Like we've talked about why
Yes.
a person would want to be seen as of the
We just
people,
did.
because it is a wonderful start to a story, and what better way to win the hearts and minds of people than with a good story. It's very George R. R. Martin. Um,
Hashtag relatable. Yeah, sorry. I always just bring in the worst of humanity. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here for contrast.
Wait, does that make me the best of humanity? That's kind of a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're too kind. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on the
Just
epic?
final thing, Clenium,
Mhm.
Cordell is new, great nations to the east, fiery empire of the west.
Yes, expanded
Yeah,
world.
yes, it's very nice. I want to know more, but it's fine. There.
There is a whole story here. I'm like, whoa. There's a whole movie going on. I'm like, okay.
Just give me
Yeah.
the encyclopedia, Mr. Sanderson, please. I will.
I just want to know so hard. Okay. But
All
yeah,
right,
then
shall
oh
we?
yes, yeah. Let's get into the chapter of it all.
Excellent.
When Vin awoke, the pain told her that Reen had beaten her again. What had she done? Had she been too friendly to one of the other crew members? Had she made a foolish comment drawing the crew leader's ire? She was to remain quiet and always quiet, staying away from the others, never calling attention to herself. Otherwise, he would beat her. She had to learn, he said. She had to learn. But her pain seemed too strong for that. It had been a long time since she could remember hurting this much. She coughed slightly, opening her eyes. She lay in a bed that was far too comfortable, and a lanky teenage boy sat in a chair beside her bed.
Okay, before we continue,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some stuff there to discuss, yeah?
Yes.
Her half-conscious mind assumes Reen had beaten her. That's heavy.
Yeah. Full regression. Right all the way back into okay, my default. This is her default psychologically. She's I've been beaten. I did all the things I have to learn wrong. I have to I usually do things wrong. I must learn. And Reen has beaten me. That's what I meant by like there's character work in this chapter. Look, there's character work in every chapter. But this was quite sad to start with. You're just like, oh gosh, that's your default. That's where your mind goes. Yeah.
And the line, it had been a long time since she could remember hurting this much. Vin should be dead right now.
Yeah. So she has
Vin,
so she's experienced this before.
yeah, that's what I thought. Oh gosh.
And she's been beaten that bad before. So yeah, it's just all sad Vin things. Too strong for that. It had been a long time since she could remember her seeing this match. Well, the point is, it doesn't even matter whether it had been Reen beating her. She's been beaten or hurt this much before, and that to me, look, it's not surprising, but I don't like hearing it.
Yeah. So she thinks to herself,
Lesterborns, that's his name. I'm in Clubs' shop.
Lesterborns jumped to his feet. You're awaking? She tried to speak, but just coughed again, and the boy hurriedly gave her a cup of water. Vin sipped it, thankfully, grimacing at the pain in her side. In fact, her entire body felt like it had been pummeled soundly.
Lesterborns?
Nothing as the now. Kelsier wasn't the hit with my name, changed it to Spook.
Spook? Sorry, I'm too busy laughing. Okay. Spook. It fits. How long have I been asleep?
2 weeks. Wait here. He scrambled away, and she could hear him calling out in the distance.
2 weeks?
She sipped at the cup, trying to organize her muddled memories. Reddish afternoon sunlight shone through the window, filling the room. She set the cup aside, checking her side, where she found a large white bandage.
That's where the Inquisitor hit me. I should be dead.
Her side was bruised and discolored from where she'd hit the roof after falling, and her body bore a dozen other nicks, bruises, and scrapes. All in all, she felt absolutely terrible. Vin, Dachshund said, stepping into the room. You're awake!
Barely.
Vin said with a groan, lying back against her pillow. Dachshund chuckled, walking over and sitting on Lesterborn's stool. How much do you remember?
Most everything, I think. We fought our way into the palace, but there were inquisitors. They chased us, and Calcia fought.
She stopped, looking at Doxson.
Calcia, is he?
Kel's fine. He came out of the incident in far better shape than you did. He knows the palace fairly well from the plans we made 3 years ago, and he... Vin frowned as Doxson trailed off.
What?
He said the Inquisitors didn't seem very focused on killing him. They left one to chase him and sent 2 after you.
Why? Did they simply want to concentrate their energy on the weakest enemy first? Or is there another reason?
Okay, so it's clearly because Vin is the girl who's the key to everything, right?
Yeah, but the way you say it is like it's a pejorative.
I don't mean I'm being snarky when I put it that way because I hear it frequently used as a pejorative. But I mean it affectionately because I think Vin is an absolutely wonderful, fleshed out, well-developed character.
Yes.
And there's clearly something important and special about her.
Yes. And you did notice, we did make note of, wait a second, there's 2 Inquisitors after her. We did notice that beforehand. So now we're taking note of it within the story, which it's important. And I like what you're saying. Look, yes, it is. The joke is, haha, key to everything, girl. But the reason that trope exists is because it's been used very well elsewhere.
And yes, yeah. and has increasingly become misused.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say it's been misused. So you could inaccurately throw that criticism at this. It would be inaccurate. Sorry, the girl that's the key to everything is quite exciting and quite a good character. So your criticism is invalid. Goodbye.
Yeah. Oh man. But this is also part of the mystery. There is stuff about her past that we don't know, but we are witnessing the ramifications of that past clearly, right? So when I say this phrase, I'm referring to this unknown element that I want to know.
Yeah, we do want to know the original key to everything thing. Yay, exciting. Tell us. Yeah.
She sat back thoughtfully, working through the events of that night.
Sazed, he saved me. The Inquisitor was about to kill me, but Dox, what is he?
Sazed? That's probably a question I shall let him answer.
Is he here?
Doxson shook his head. He had to return to Felice. Breeze and Kell are out recruiting, and Ham left last week to inspect our army. He won't be back for another month at least. Vin nodded, feeling drowsy. Drink the rest of your water. There's something in it to help with the pain. Vin downed the rest of the drink, then rolled over and let sleep take her again.
So, a couple of things that I think merit being brought up that are pertinent.
Yes.
One, the plan continues. Vin is gravely injured, and yet the plan continues. And it's not that that's an uncomfortable element for me, or like a cold element, but it also is like practical and makes sense. And they did what they could for her. And of course, it's not practical to assume that they're just going to sit and wait around for one member to recover.
They were supposed to be doing this whether she was there or not.
Yes.
It was her choice to be part of it. So it does make sense it would go on. And it's been a long time as well. Like initially, and I said a long time in terms of 2 weeks, just considering the pacing of all epic things occurring, it would have disrupted operations for a couple days and made them go, okay, do we continue? What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Like it had ramifications. Don't worry. But this is now 2 weeks in the future. She's been lying there basically stable and being taken care of for a long time. They had to get back to action.
Yes.
Obviously, they had enough time to decide to stop if they were gonna. Not that we thought they would. So yeah, and they can't waste time. The plan does require them to constantly be working on it. Can't take a break.
Precisely. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I uniquely enjoyed about this interaction and about what we're going to learn about a little bit in the rest of the chapter
Mm-hmm.
is like the one-on-one experience we get with Vin and Kelsier, and then with Vin and Breeze. We got a one-on-one with Dachshund, and that was very heartwarming for me, especially since I like Dachshund so much.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of it that way. Like, it just happened. It was just okay. Well, there was Lesterborns and whatever. But yeah, it's right. One-on-one with Dachshund is an important bit of interaction for us to experience.
Yeah,
We
it's
have had
not the master apprentice stuff, but it's still really
no,
fun to see the pairing, I think.
yeah, because this is also the whole Vin's experience is completely different with this crew. This is a crew that actually gives a damn about her and gives a damn about each other. So this sort of interaction is actually it's so important for her to have. Just a normal, she can ask questions, she can be asked if she's okay, she can, all of those little things are very important for us to experience with her and to build her motivations. This is the character work I'm talking about. Yeah, and also in terms of the pacing here. So we've just finished. Okay, we would usually call it a POV, but it stays with her anyway. But the scene finishes, and that's the rest of the chapter is shorter scenes, and I think that worked for me pacing wise because I was like, she's recovering. It really is. That is kind of how it is if you're recovering. There's like just flashes of memory, and
yeah.
Then you wake up and then you go to sleep, and you wake up and you go to sleep. That's basically what it is. So it makes sense that they would just go from scene to scene. This was also the change of pace. It works well for a new part of the book. It was not, what do you call it? It was smooth. There we go.
Did you have anything you wanted to say on Spook now?
We'll talk about Spook when she thinks about when she's because I think she mentions him being at her side most of the time.
Great.
But
Okay,
still,
then.
also just statement of appreciation for your Lesterborns. I love it. I love it so much. It's so much better than the audiobook Lesterborns. Like it's just so funny. I love it.
Quasi-Norwegian Lesteborns.
I'll mention it when we do talk about him again.
Cool.
Kelsier was there when she awoke. He sat on the stool by her bed, hands clasped with his elbows on his knees, watching her by the faint light of a lantern. He smiled when she opened her eyes. "Welcome back." She immediately reached for the cup of water on the bedstand.
How's the job going?
Okay, so that's her first question of Kelsier?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a comment. It's not like, oh, you wouldn't expect it. You're saying, you're exclaiming.
yeah, it's like it's not Kelsier, I'm so glad you're alive, or it wasn't some dry. So that was an experience.
Yeah, something
comment,
like that.
Or it is all business, and that speaks to her character clearly.
Yes, it does come up a bit later as well. Like she needs to be useful. So her immediate thought is, "Oh, how's the job going?" Like it makes sense that's where her mind goes.
She's not pretending to be weak. She who likes to hardly be noticed, who escapes things by pretending to be weak and unnoticeable. Her first response to Kelsier in this weakened state is, "How's the job going?"
Yeah,
I mean, that's incredible.
That is incredible. Yes, that's from a position of agency. She's asking these things. Like she's and I mean she has very little agency right now. She's healing, but I'm saying like she's thinking about this. She's a person in this context here. She's asking about the job because she cares about the job. It's not just about survival. Like let me keep quiet. This is her relationship with Kelsier on show here, and I mean this now from this contrasting with her thinking immediately of I've always got to keep quiet. I've got to learn to I can't be too friendly with a crew member. This was in the previous scene. That's all she's thinking about. I must be like this. I must learn from that trauma area. Now we go to it's just Kelsier, and it's Kelsier, and he smiles at her and he's like, "Welcome back." And this is where she is now. and we saw where she was before. It's great to have those two things very close together.
Yes.
Nicely done.
I agree.
He shrugged. The army's growing, and Renault has begun to purchase weapons and supplies. Your suggestion regarding the ministry turned out to be a good one. We found Theron's contact, and we've nearly negotiated a deal that will let us place someone as a ministry acolyte.
Marsh, will he do it himself?
Vin is smart. That was me making that comment, not written in the book.
Kelsier nodded. He's always had a certain fascination with the ministry. If any Ska can pull off imitating an obligator, it'll be Marsh.
So, what do you think of this certain fascination with the ministry? I guess I don't know what comment I'll specifically want to say about it, but I want to note it. That Marsh,
certain fascination.
Yes, Marsh has a fascination, and if any Ska can pull off imitating an obligator, it will be Marsh. I guess that makes sense obligator-wise, right? An obligator, we had that experience of them in the beginning, the whatever that intro part. We had an experience of that one. What an obligator does, they are kind of a watchdog.
The priest bureaucrats who
Yes.
oversee agreements and contracts.
Yes. So Marsh has that within him somehow. He can actually pull that off. That's what I mean. I wanted to note that there's a thing about Marsh. He's so different to Kelsier. Yet it's not just that he can act very well. It's just there's something in him that's obligator-like. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly carries himself with a certain amount of gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
The word obsession came to mind when I considered the phrase certain fascination. I wondered how healthy Marsh's fascination is.
Yes, I want to know more about it.
But
yes. Mm-hmm.
In many ways, Marsh is still a mystery to all of us because we really have not had a lot of interaction with him.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I wanted to just note something about that, because it's like I have questions about Marsh. Marsh is a fascinating character, actually. So yeah, I want more of that, and I'm excited to see it. I guess that's why I stopped you, just to have let's have a statement of appreciation for Marsh.
Statement of appreciation and excellent comments.
Absolutely.
Vin nodded, sipping her drink. There was something different about Kelsier. It was subtle, a slight alteration in his air and attitude. Things had changed during her sickness.
Okay,
Vin.
are we going to talk about that now, or are we going to...
I was thinking about putting it off, but the thing is, if we do put it off, it would be until the last conversation that we had. So you know what? Let's have it now. Both of them are changing for the better. And I think it was an episode or 2 or 3 ago where I commented on Brandon Sanderson liking to write positive arcs for his character, or for his characters. And I think that this is the start of it for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we also, just for me, it's not even about I guess I didn't take it all the way to the end. This is a start where this is going. The change, yeah, you've got the bigger picture in mind there, and it makes sense. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, thank you for opening my mind. But also the way it's completely, that is exactly what Vin would do. She would notice a subtle change in someone. There's some sort of difference. That's in her immediate thing. She's just tuned into people. We know that about her. And things had changed during her sickness. That sounds a bit ominous. I would expect her to be worried about something having changed, but you have just made the point. It actually is a good change. And we do have that sort of discussion later on, I think, with Sazed, how this is actually a good change. This alteration in Kelsier is a tempering of his passion, I would say. Yeah, so...
I think what happened to Vin makes him feel a sense of responsibility for his crew members in a way that he didn't have before.
Yeah, it was all about him and his recklessness before. And he was aware of it. He knew that he was being reckless with people's lives. He knew that, but it didn't matter to him, and he admitted that. He even admitted it to Sazed. He was like, yeah, of course, because Sazed said, and you'll risk the girl or risk whatever. earlier chapters. He said that, and he said, yes, I will. Now it's not as easy as he thought it was, because
And he still will risk their lives, but I think from this point on, he's going to be a bit less flippant and, take the role as the leader here a bit more seriously.
Yeah, less flippant, less reckless, because when it is, yes, I understand, when it is just you on the line, you'll be a lot more reckless, because it's just, okay, well, it's fine, it's just me. I mean, I've lost everything. I've lost my wife, whatever, it's fine. I'll just die. But now it's like, no, wait a second. I don't want to throw away those people's lives. He's come very frighteningly close to having done that. And that's made a change. And you would expect that in his character. Yes, just because he's flippant doesn't mean that he's not going to learn about when he shouldn't be. And I agree, this is a beginning of a positive arc, and I suppose we'll talk about it even more when Sazed speaks about it. Spoiler alert.
Sounds
not really
good.
Spoiler. Yeah.
Vin, I owe you an apology. I nearly got you killed. Vin snorted quietly.
I snorted on demand. That was amazing. Usually I can't. Damn it, I can't do it. It's not okay. So imagine, insert snort here. It's not your fault. I made you take me.
Good line, by the way. Actually, this whole section is full of good lines, so let's just...
You shouldn't have been able to make me. My original decision to send you away was the right one. Please accept the apology.
Brandon Sanderson has such a wonderful knack for dialogue and having the characters just say the things they need to say without it feeling forced.
Manufactured. Yeah, it's not clunky, or it's not, it's natural.
People are not good communicators, right? And there is a whole style of writing in which characters never say, like Chekhov is fantastic for this, never say the things that they mean to or intend to the person they're speaking to. Just not being able to communicate properly. And it is so refreshing and nice and wonderful for me, in my mind, to think, okay, look, I really hope Kelsier's going to say this to her, and I hope Vin responds in this way, and I hope that and then to see it actually play out, because this has happened several times in a good way, an enjoyable way.
Yeah, your need or our need, everyone's need for certain conversations to happen could make it feel like very false or very forced when it does happen, but it does not. That's the way that he's written. It doesn't make that happen. You're just happy that it's happening. You're not like, oh yeah, that's so clunky. You don't feel like anything's clunky in the dialogue. You're like, yeah, that makes sense that person is saying that, and I'm happy that they're saying it.
Was it in one of the last episodes or two that I brought up the Key and Peele sketch about the self-aware bully? As quickly as I can put it, there's a sketch of a schoolyard bully and the kid that is being bullied, and everything that the bully says is like, I beat you because I'm insecure about my weight, and I beat you because I'm afraid to go home. And the kid that's getting bullied is just like, wow, you're so self-aware. If you're doing that, why are you perpetuating this cycle of violence? And if not for the fact that were a sketch, it would be like, no one talks like that. No one is that self-aware. But these are self-aware people.
But it's not a sketch. It doesn't. I see what your comparison is here. Like it doesn't come off as people don't speak like that, so this is horrid. It's actually like, yeah, he's put events together where you would have serious conversations like this. Like people do speak like this in real life when the occasion presents itself, that, listen, we have to have a serious talk right now. So he's put that together in the right way. It doesn't feel like a sketch or like unrealistic. Look, that's what I took from that, but I don't know.
And it's all earned. These are intelligent characters. We are in both of their heads, so we know that they are building to these thoughts. And it is wonderful to see them, I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, to see them express themselves effectively with each other.
Well, statement of appreciation.
Indeed.
Please accept the apology.
What do you need me to do now? The job has to go forward, right?
Kelsier smiled. Indeed it does. As soon as you're up to it, I'd like you to move back to Felice. We created a cover story saying that Lady Valette has taken ill, but rumors are starting to appear. The sooner you can be seen in the flesh by visitors, the better.
I can go tomorrow.
Kelsier chuckled. I doubt it. But you can go soon. For now, just rest. He stood, moving to leave.
Kelsier,
Vin asked, causing him to linger. He turned, looking at her. Vin struggled to formulate what she wanted to say.
the palace, the Inquisitors. We're not invincible, are we?
She flushed. It sounded stupid when she said it that way. Kelsier, however, smiled. He seemed to understand what she meant. No, Vin. We're far from it.
I loved that last section.
Yeah, I
Oh.
have questions. Okay, so yeah, one of the things, good lines all over. I wanted the apology from Kelsier because clearly it has affected him, and he wants her to know that it has. She does take responsibility for her own actions. She's like, no, I tried to make you. I've told you to take it. So it's like we don't want her to just skip over that and be like, yeah, Kelsier, you should have stopped me. It's like, no, you were part of this. I like that she took responsibility. The invincible, the question I have, I'm like, what is this? It didn't feel
Okay.
out of yeah. Okay, go.
Okay. I got this. Okay. Vin is a child who has seen Kelsier do impossible things. Impossible things.
Mm-hmm.
She has been granted the power of a god.
Mm-hmm.
I exaggerate perhaps with that, but no, she is a 1 in a million Mistborn girl
Mm-hmm.
with incredible powers that she is developing abnormally quickly, and Kelsier is so flippant, and hell, even Breeze is so carefree,
Mm.
and they're plotting to bring down a god. It is not impossible for me to think that this young girl imagines that she could be invincible. And Kelsier is coming at it from a slightly, I think, more nihilistic angle of flippancy and mourning for Mare and vengeance that is like powering him and his ego, causing him to take these insane risks. In a way, I think they both thought, up until this event, thought of themselves as invincible.
Yeah, that's what we needed this conversation for. This, like, they thought of themselves. It wasn't, and that's the lovely bit of the writing, is that they're not saying that. They're not going, we are invincible, and they're not saying it. Okay, they're acting like they're invincible, and they're feeling, because there's literally been, she had a moment that she felt invincible when she was burning at him, like that. Agreed. And then she is of an age which mostly, teenagers, no matter, okay, yes, she's got a completely colorful background, but teenagers are prone to think that they are invincible and will live forever, kind of thing. So she is primed to have that experience. Kelsier, there's like you said, the explanation of mourning Mare and revenge and all of that it will make him feel just invincible and not think about consequences. She, on the other hand, her youth lends her to that, and she's just been granted power, basically, out of nowhere. So it makes sense that they would just go on this upswing of, yeah, we can do anything, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, actually we can't. And they're both having that realization, but he smiles about it as well. Kelsier smiles about it. He's just like, yeah, we're not invincible. He's still Kelsier, even so. He's still got this way of viewing the world with the smile, but she's happy that he understood what she meant. which is what she means here is that kind of like, oh, we were acting like we were invincible, but we're not. Both of us need to tone it down and be a bit more careful. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Well said.
Mm.
So much goodness in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And thus we get to the next section, which I think is the last in this. All right.
Vin watched the landscape pass outside her carriage window. The vehicle sent from Mansion Renault had supposedly taken Lady Villette for a ride through Luthadel. In reality, it hadn't picked up Vin until it had stopped briefly by Clubs's street, but now her window shades were open, showing her again to the world, assuming anyone cared. The carriage made its way back toward Felice. Kelsier had been right. She'd had to rest 3 more days in Clubs's shop before feeling strong enough to make the trip. In part, she'd waited simply because she had dreaded struggling into a noblewoman's dresses with her bruised arms and wounded side. Still, it felt good to be up again. There had been something wrong about simply recovering in bed. Such a lengthy period of rest wouldn't have been given to an ordinary thief. Thieves either got back to work quickly or were abandoned for dead. Those who couldn't bring in money for food couldn't be allowed to take up space in the lair.
But that isn't the only way people live.
Vin thought. She was still uncomfortable with that knowledge.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
she's not denying this.
Yes, we've seen this progression of her realizing, oh, that is okay, and there was a reality that I existed in before, but other people have different realities, and there are different kinds of crews and different ways that people live. And it's okay that she's still uncomfortable with that, but she's noticing it. I'm glad. That's good. That's what you need.
Yes.
It hadn't mattered to Kelsier and the others that she drained their resources. They hadn't exploited her weakened state, but had cared for her, each one spending time at her bedside.
I love that. I thought of Ham. And yet Vin didn't think of... What?
Just coming to visit, yeah.
Yeah.
Most notable among the Vigilists had been the young Lestiborns. Vin didn't feel that she knew him very well yet. Kelsier said that the boy had spent hours watching over her during her coma.
Okay. So, Lestiborns clearly has a crush on Vin. And Vin, now that you know that you don't feel like you know him well, maybe get to know him well.
Yeah. Isn't it worth it? And now you can get to know him just because, for the sake of getting to know him, not getting to know him because he might be a danger to you, and we need to have all the information on everybody because that will keep us safe. It's like, no, maybe it's because he gives a damn about you. Maybe you should see what that's about, and not go and return the affections, but just care about him, be curious about him. He's a person too. I love that she's still okay. So also just note on the pronunciation of this name. In the book, the audiobook, it's like Lestiborners, which is just like, that is too much work for me. Sorry. Lestiborns is okay for that's what was in my head is Lestiborns. But she also hasn't changed his name to Spook in her head yet.
Good catch.
She hasn't changed. But I want a little bit. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more context of why Kelsier has started calling him Spook. It does fit. I prefer Spook also because then I don't have to say Lestiborns. But also, just actually the clunkiness of his name paired with his accent that they decide it's an accent, but his dialect really. Paired with that, he's just a colorful, fun. I laugh every time, and also just statements of appreciation for Dorkus's Lestiborn's voice because it makes me laugh every time. It's much more entertaining than the book. Even though there was one where he said, "I gotta go," and I really enjoyed that one. but yeah, your Lestiborns. I want more Lestiborns so that I can hear more of this dialect and learn.
Okay, look,
yeah.
Hottest of predictions right here. Spook's gonna save the day.
Yeah, I want him to. I think it'll be great. And then his, oh god, I just need to learn how to speak that language. Anyway.
Now several chapters later, Kitteh, I ask you, have you had the opportunity to say not of the yetting yet?
Not of the yetting yet. I keep forgetting it. Gosh.
Oh man, it's almost like we come together to do this.
weekly, and I still don't remember. Just hold on. What did one make of the world? That one.
What did one make of a world where a crew leader agonized over his people? In the underground, each person bore responsibility for what happened to them. The weaker segment of a crew had to be allowed to die lest they keep everyone else from earning enough to survive.
So, brutal world.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought of Lord of the Flies a little bit, and this sort of primal, do we work together for the betterment of our group, or do we cull the weak? And
I didn't even have Lord of the Flies in mind. I was more like just thinking of nature, not even humans. It was just more of animals. Like you say primal, I went so primal that I wasn't even thinking of humans. I was just like, yeah, that's what it's like in certain natural settings, like survival of the fittest.
indeed.
If a person got captured by the ministry, you left them to their fate and hoped that they didn't betray you too much. You didn't worry about your own guilt at putting them in danger.
Okay, and then I just had a flashback to Cameron hanging from the hook and hope they didn't betray too much. Foreshadowing? I think so. Probably.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know that was a problem, but it's just reminding us, by the way, that brings back.
Anyway, Vin has a thought.
They're fools.
Reen's voice whispered.
This entire plan will end in disaster, and your death will be your own fault for not leaving when you could.
Reen had left when he could. Perhaps he'd known that the Inquisitors would eventually hunt her down for the powers she unwittingly possessed.
Boom!
Yeah.
Good thought, Vin. We thought it. You've now thought it.
Mm-hmm. I knew you'd like that.
Very much so.
He always had known when to leave. It was no accident, she thought, that he hadn't ended up slaughtered with the rest of the crew. Yet she ignored Reen's promptings in her head, instead letting the carriage pull her toward Felice. It wasn't that she felt completely secure in her place with Kelsier's crew. Indeed, in a way, her place with these people was making her more apprehensive. What if they stopped needing her? What if she became useless to them? She had to prove to them that she could do what they needed her to. There were functions to attend, a society to infiltrate. She had so much work to do, she couldn't afford to spend any more of it sleeping.
So that's for me, like that ties up nicely with what she was like. Her first question was, "How's the job going?" That's what that's what she's feeling. She's like, "Okay, now I'm useful still," and she has noticed that she was given care just because she's part of the crew. I feel like if Lester was sick, he would also be taken care of. They wouldn't leave him to
100%.
Yeah.
Something I think is awakened in her after this event, and she wants to contribute, not to survive, but because she wants to be helpful. She wants to participate. She likes being here. She wants to continue to be here.
Yeah, she wants to continue, not just for survival, but for the betterment of everybody. She wants to be useful to these people because she likes them, actually. But it does make her feel, she does have self-insight. She does feel uncomfortable because it's like, oh, no, if I have no value, they'll stop caring about me. And that is a very natural, psychological, what do you want to call it? Impulse is to be like, oh, no, now I need to remain valuable. I'm very happy that I've never been valuable to anyone before. Now I am valuable. Oh, I better hold on to being valuable, and I will feel very insecure about my value going forward. That's a normal psychological thing. But
yeah, I didn't get any anxiety in these thoughts. I didn't get any worry or concern. I got drive.
Yes, determination. Yeah, no.
Yes.
It's there is anxiety. It can lead to anxiety, but this so I do believe that there is anxiety there, but that's denoted where she says I'm uncomfortable with that place, but what she wants to do is but the feeling, I do agree with you, it's not anxiety there that she's like, oh no, I better keep it together. She's like, no, I've got stuff to do and I'm valuable, and she's embracing that.
Yes. Like if she had woken up and Kelsier had said, "Okay, you're done. This is too dangerous for you.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have you putting the operation at risk," then she would, I imagine, have much more of those anxious thoughts of, "No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, I can help. I swear. Just give me
Yeah.
another chance. Put me in, coach." But that
Mm.
isn't the way this all played out. She was shown care and understanding, and now she wants to offer that back in the best way that she feels she can.
Yeah. Exactly.
In addition, she needed to return to her allomantic practice sessions. It had only taken a few short months for her to grow dependent upon her powers, and she longed for the freedom of leaping through the mists, of pulling and pushing her way through the skies.
Okay, dependent on her powers? That was I don't think this was intended to be a concerning sentence, but I read the word dependent and I was like, oh no.
Oh no, in what context?
Well,
Like, I mean,
it's the flowers for Algernon thing that I had brought up several sessions ago. Not
mm,
I'm not referring to her using allomancy to help her heal. I'm
mm-hmm.
referring specifically to, now that I can fly, I never want to walk again,
Mm-hmm.
kind of an idea, which can be a very addictive,
Tempting.
I think, mindset. Yeah. So the fact that she considers herself dependent upon her powers is concerning for me.
Yeah, I see it. I saw it as she has knowledge of this. She's aware that she could become dependent on them. What is she
Mhm.
dependent? It says dependent on her powers. Dependent on her powers, how? Like to feel good, to feel useful, to feel. Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
herself. This is who
Yes,
you
like
are,
herself.
man.
Yeah, I think that's what she's depending on. She's depending on them for strength in not just a physical manner, but psychologically. That makes her feel
Right.
valuable. More.
And to be clear, she does consider the topic of the allomancy to help her heal in a couple of paragraphs. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
fairly confident that her use of the word dependent here in this sentence is not referring to that
No,
dynamic.
I
Just
agree. This
for
is more
clarity.
about and she is thinking about leaping through the mists, pushing and pulling. It's clear that that's not what she means by it at all.
Yeah.
Gretick Shaw had taught her that she wasn't invincible, but Kelsier's survival with barely a scratch proved that it was possible to be much better than she was. They needed to practice, to grow in strength, until she too could escape inquisitors like Kelsier had.
That strikes me. I didn't realize there was so much to talk about in this chapter,
Mm-hmm.
which is incredible. That strikes me as a slight misread here because it sounds, I forget if they bring it up with Sazed later about how the two were sent after her. I don't think they were trying to kill Kelsier. And
No.
if her read here is that Kelsier is that good, she may be dangerously overestimating Kelsier's abilities here.
Well, look, either way, we know that she is not as experienced as Kelsey, and she just wants to get better and be able to escape. The frame now is that Kelsey doesn't kill Inquisitors. Kelsey knows how to escape them, and yeah, she is misreading it in saying that like, oh, Kelsey got away because he's better. It's like, actually no, Kelsey probably got away because he had one after him as opposed to two. So yes, I see what you mean by her overestimating Calthea there. But either way, what I took mostly from here was what I focused on more was her frame has not take on Inquisitors, it's escape from Inquisitors. So the frame has changed. It's like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna fight them, but I need to be better at running away from them. So she's taken that forward.
That's some excellent nuance I hadn't thought about, and that is a comforting thought.
Mm. She's still thinking of escaping at least. So we're good. At least we have that. It's not like fighting them. But I do agree. She has overestimated Calcia there. Either way, we still want her to improve. Everybody needs to just level up. That's great. Keep going.
The carriage turned a bend and rolled into Felice. The familiar pastoral suburb made Vin smile to herself, and she leaned against the open carriage window, feeling the breeze.
Hold up!
With a-
Hold up! Hold up! Vin smiled, Dorkus.
Hey!
Okay. I don't think Vin has smiled.
Hey! Nice observation.
It was amazing to me. I was like, she smiled, and she's smiling to herself. Like, she's busy being happy over there. I saw you, Vin. We saw you being happy. We saw you liking something.
Haha, we
Amazing.
caught you.
Oh, I really, that made me smile to myself because she was smiling. Didn't you go,
Nice.
whoa, when that happened when you first read it?
I didn't, but I kind of feel like I should have.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you not? How dare you not go, wow, Vin, look at you smiling. Well, I'm glad that I could make you think about it now.
I do remember specifically thinking that Vin must look picturesque looking out the carriage window.
That's okay. Good.
Yeah.
Picturesque. Happiness. It crossed
Yeah.
your mind.
More of
Anyway.
that cinematic
Yeah.
sort of storytelling.
Mm.
With luck, some streetgoers would gossip that Lady Villette had been seen riding through the city. She arrived at Mansion Renault a few short turns later. A footman opened the door, and Vin was surprised to see Lord Renault himself waiting outside the carriage to help her down.
My lord?
Now don't forget, you got to do this with
Mm.
the
Oh
accent.
God, I was hoping that you wouldn't ask me to do it. Thought I could just go English again, as in I could like just not. It's too funny. Okay, my lord.
She said, giving him her hand.
Surely you have more important things to attend to. Oh God.
Nonsense. A lord must be allowed time to dote upon his favored niece. How was your ride?
Does he ever break character?
He didn't ask after the others in Luthadel or give any indication that he knew of her wound.
It was refreshing, Uncle.
She said as they walked up the steps to the mansion doors.
Vin was
Listen,
thankful for the
wait.
pewter.
Hold up.
Okay.
I'll do the southern thing one more time. Okay? In this here. But I think going forward we need to stop it because it will be very hard to take anything seriously.
More
Let us
Okay,
know.
look, I won't, in all seriousness, I won't make you do it if you really don't want to.
No, it's just about taking things seriously because I laugh after every single time I'm doing it. So it's just like we won't be able to get through very good interactions. I don't know, just let us know what you think in the chat. Okay. It was refreshing, Uncle.
She said as they walked up the steps to the mansion doors. Vin was thankful for the pewter burning lightly in her stomach to give strength to her still weak legs. Calcira warned against using it too much lest she grow dependent upon its power, but she saw little alternative until she was healed. That is wonderful, Renault said. Perhaps, once you are feeling better, we should take lunch together on the garden balcony. It has been warm lately, despite the coming winter.
That would be very pleasant.
Before she'd found the impostor's noble bearing intimidating, yet as she slipped into the persona of Lady Villette, she experienced the same calmness as before. Vin the thief was nothing to a man such as Renault, but Villette the socialite was another matter.
So I know that they said earlier in the chapter that the cover story was that Lady Villette had taken ill.
Mm-hmm.
Renault here says, perhaps once you are feeling better, we should take lunch together on the garden balcony.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how much of this is the act. We know that everyone else in the crew sat by her bedside, and Renault has been fairly distant from her and very direct in the plotting scenes that the two of them have been in together. My question for you is how much of this is Renault actually caring about her versus how much of this is him playing the part?
I think it's more him playing the part, but there might be some care for her, that he's interested in caring for her. He wants to know her a little bit better, and maybe he has some sympathy for her from somewhere. But the way it looks now, it seems like it's equally likely the part and personal curiosity. What's your opinion?
I fear it's purely the act, but I would
Mhm.
very much like Renault to actually be concerned about her.
Yeah, that's a better take. I think. Well, I want it. I think that me wanting it, me saying it's equally likely is me wanting it to be.
Very good, Renault said, pausing inside the entryway. However, let us attend to that on another day. For now, you would likely prefer to rest from your journey.
Actually, my lord, I'd like to visit Sizet. I have some matters I must discuss with the steward.
Ah, you will find him in the library working on one of my projects.
Thank you.
Renault nodded, then walked away, his dueling cane clicking against the white marble floor. Vin frowned, trying to decide if he was completely sane. Could someone really adopt a persona that holy?
You do it. When you become Lady Valet, you show a completely different side of yourself.
She turned flaring pewter to help her climb the northern set of stairs. She let her flare lapse as she reached the top, returning to a normal burn. As Kelsier said, it was dangerous to flare metals for too extended a period. An Allomancer could quickly make their body dependent.
I'm
She's
glad
she's
she's aware
taking
of this.
she's taking
I'm
precautions.
yeah, I'm glad she's aware, and I'm glad she's taking steps to not
Hmm.
become dependent.
She took a few breaths. Climbing the stairs had been difficult, even with pewter, then walked down the corridor to the library. Sazed sat at a desk beside a small coal stove on the far side of the small room, writing on a pad of paper. He wore his standard steward's robes, and a pair of thin spectacles sat at the end of his nose. Finn stopped in the doorway, regarding the man who had saved her life.
Why is he wearing spectacles? I've seen him read before without them.
He seemed completely absorbed by his work, periodically studying a large tome on the desk, then turning to scribble notes on his pad.
You're an Allomancer.
The scribbling halted, then Sazad set down his pen and turned. What makes you say that, Mistress Finn?
You got to Lutherdale too quickly.
Lord Renault keeps several swift messenger horses in his stables. I could have taken one of those.
You found me at the palace.
Kelsier told me of his plans, and I correctly assumed that you had followed him. Locating you was a stroke of luck, one that nearly took me too long to achieve.
You killed the Inquisitor.
Killed? No, mistress. It takes far more powers than I possess to kill one of those monstrosities. I simply distracted him. Vin stood in the doorway for a moment longer, trying to figure out why Sazad was being so ambiguous.
So are you an Allomancer or not?
He smiled, then he pulled a stool out from beside the desk. Please sit down. Vin did as requested, crossing the room and sitting on the stool, her back to a massive bookshelf. What would you think if I told you that I wasn't an Allomancer?
I'd think that you were lying.
Have you known me to lie before?
The best liars are those who tell the truth most of the time.
Sazed smiled, regarding her through bespectacled eyes. That is true, I think. Still, what proof have you that I am an Allomancer?
You did things that couldn't have been done without Allomancy.
Oh? A Mistborn for 2 months, and already you know all that is possible in the world.
I like that line. That was
Yeah,
funny.
I loved it. Yeah.
Vin hesitated. Up until recently, she hadn't known much at all about Allomancy. Perhaps there was more to the world than she had assumed.
Okay, that is a great mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
Vin is stubborn, but she's not stubborn.
She's not
She
stupid.
won't she won't like dig her heels in on a belief that ultimately doesn't help her, or
She will take into consideration new information and make a judgment on it. And you can see that she's
yes,
flexible in that way, which is good.
yes, she's
She's
very open
yeah.
in that
Yeah,
way.
and that is a thing that somebody with a huge ego would find it much more difficult to do that. So it is kind of like it is a residual effect of her having a very small ego, but it does help her. She's intelligent and she's not arrogant when it comes to that. So yes, she was being kind of arrogant here or jumping to conclusions here, not thinking it through. But once she's brought to the reasoning, she's not stubborn to the point of no, I'm gonna just stick with what I thought. She's like, oh wait, that's a good point. And I love the way that Sazed brings this reasoning to her. He doesn't say no, you're this, you're that. He brings her along. He says, come, let's question this together. You know, in a way, like he asks her the right question and lets her come to the conclusion herself. So I love that dynamic.
Yes.
That he's a good teacher.
Very much so.
Mm.
Perhaps there was more to the world than she had assumed.
There's always another secret.
Kelsier's words.
Yay! So we had Reen's words every now and then. Now there's still Kelsey's words are in her head.
Yes.
So, what exactly is a keeper? Oh yes, note.
Fine.
I'd said seeker earlier in a couple of episodes. I was saying seeker when I actually was supposed to mean keeper. But we both kind of took we understood what I meant, but actually, yeah, I meant keeper. Because there is something called a seeker, which is what Marsh is, I think.
Yes?
Yeah. So I kept saying seeker. That's because seeker, I think it was seeker it's in the world of
Seeker, a misting who can burn bronze.
Yeah. I thought I there is something called a seeker in the Castlevania universe, so that's what kept me thinking of it that way, because I'd compared keepers to seekers in Castlevania. So oopsie, but we know what I meant. So, but now I will
Fired.
Then that will be the last time she is on here. So there we go.
Anyway, where were we? Kelsier's words. What exactly is a keeper? Well, a keeper is generally a potential romantic partner who exhibits qualities.
Sazed smiled. Now that is a far more clever question, mistress. Keepers are storehouses. We remember things so that they can be used in the future.
Like religions.
Religious truths are my particular specialty.
But you remember other things too?
Sazed nodded.
Like what?
Well, Sazed said, closing the tome he had been studying. Languages, for instance. Vin immediately recognized the glyph-covered cover.
Oh, that's a line. Glyph-covered cover.
The book I found in the palace. How did you get it?
I happened across it while I was searching for you. It is written in a very old language, one that hasn't been spoken regularly in nearly a millennium.
Hold on. I just wanted to share. He says I happened across it. Okay. I just had this image of him just like walking around the palace grounds, and this book just lands in front of him. Because that's basically what would have happened. Because it fell, and then he's just like, oh, sorry, I just had a comical. I ruined things. I'm sorry, but I would like you to have that image in your head now too. So.
Oh, it totally is. Look, Brandon Sanderson has a great way of introducing comedic imagery into very serious action moments.
Yeah. So I mean, I take advantage of that. I'm very susceptible to it. Very old language, but you speak it?
Enough to translate this, I think.
And how many languages do you know?
172. Most of them, such as Clenny, are no longer spoken. The Lord Ruler's unity movement of the 5th century made certain of that. The language people now speak is actually a distinct dialect of Terrace, the language of my homeland.
Okay, actually, this did give me a thought. We have presumed up until this point that Epigraph Man is the Lord Ruler.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord Ruler is from Clenium and would therefore likely speak Clenny.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the language that they currently speak is, a derivative of Terrace. We know that Epigraph Man becomes a king, which is different than a deity or a pseudo-deity or a Lord Ruler or a what have you. And we know that the original Terraceman who said that Epigraph Man was the prophesied hero betrayed Epigraph Man, therefore presumably because he no longer believed that to be the case. And we know that Epigraph Man has been running into tremendous amounts of tension with certain Terracemen like Rashek, which has me wondering if the Lord Ruler is actually a Terraceman. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Possibly. Like maybe Rashek kills Epigraph Man,
Yes.
and but the question is, why would a Terraceman do to the Terrace people what it seems have happened to them over the millennium? But if Epigraph Man is the Lord Ruler, why would he choose to have everyone speak a derivative of Terrace rather than a derivative of Clenny?
Yeah. That's the question that I got from you. It was like, okay, you would expect everyone to speak the language of the Lord Ruler. So yes, those are all valid questions. I want to know how it came about that we're not having Clenny as the predominant sort of derivative language and versus Terrace. I do wonder because it is made very clear that the Lord Ruler is really obsessed or really concerned with terrorism. He literally in the conversation, just keep out the conversation that's going now, that this consideration comes out of it's Brandon Sanderson is making it very clear that the Lord Ruler has some sort of thing with the terrorism, and I just want to know about it. It's more of the mystery. The mystery deepens. When we get to it, I'll make points of it, but I'm sure you'll pick it up anyway.
Yes.
The language people now speak is actually a distinct dialect of Terrace, the language of my homeland.
172.
Vin thought with amazement.
That sounds impossible. One man couldn't remember that much.
Not one man. One keeper. What I do is similar to allomancy, but not the same. You draw power from metals. I use them to create memories.
Okay. Computer, Neuralink. We said this a chapter or two ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it sounds like, right? He's uploading data to the...
Well, he's using it as some sort of fuel or something, but I still feel he's very organic. I don't think he's a machine.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't literally mean he's a computer.
Yes,
but like he is behaving as if, like,
yeah, he's an organic
conceptually.
Computer. Yes, yeah, conceptually. How?
Sazed shook his head. Perhaps another time, mistress. My kind, we prefer to maintain our secrets. The Lord Ruler hunts us with remarkable, confusing passion.
Remarkable, confusing passion.
Mm.
So it sounds like maybe the Terracemen don't really know why, or maybe that element of history was lost even to the keepers.
Exactly. It's something that they don't know about. The mystery deepens for everyone. We're not going to get the answer from him.
Yes.
We are far less threatening than the Mistborn, yet he ignores allomancers and seeks to destroy us, hating the Terrace people because of us.
Hating? You're treated better than regular Scar. You've given positions of respect.
That is true, mistress. But in a way, the Scar are more free. Most Terracemen are raised from birth to be stewards. There are very few of us left, and the Lord Ruler's breeders control our reproduction. No Terraceman steward is allowed to have a family or to bear children.
Before we go on, again, that there's this repeating theme of different levels of oppression and freedom. The noblemen appear free to the Ska, but they are constantly watched by the obligators. The Terracemen apparently consider the Ska more free than themselves. It's an excellent repetition of that idea here.
Yes, oppression is not just about how much food is available to you. There's all kinds of ways that this can take form, and it's not like oppression Olympics kind of thing that's happening. It's just this is my experience, and this is my experience, and this is my experience, and but this is especially a special kind of control. It's even more so. He's not even letting them breed the way that Scar do. That is quite crazy control.
Yes.
Vin snorted.
That seems like it would be hard to enforce.
Sazed laid a hand on the cover of the large book. Why not at all? He said with a frown. All Terraceman stewards are eunuchs, child. I assumed you knew that. Vin froze, then she blushed furiously.
I'm sorry.
Truly and surely no apology is required. I was castrated soon after my birth, as is standard for those who will be stewards. Often I think I would have easily traded my life for that of a common Ska. My people are less than slaves. They're fabricated automatons, created by breeding programs, trained from birth to fulfill the Lord Ruler's wishes.
Now, automaton is an important word there, given what I had just said about the Neuralink and fulfilling this role of a computer.
A robot.
And that is a
input output.
Yes, I feel very much for Sazed in that moment. That's heartbreaking.
And like he's saying, we already had a soft spot for Sazed, and then you hear this and you're like, oh my goodness. So we don't even know what you would be if you were just allowed to be a person. He's completely he is fabricated. And he's the most rebellious of them that seem to exist. And even there you can see that he's still within this, I don't know, the suppression. I really do feel with him. And then also the actual physical craziness of castration is just like, it's stunning in the original sense of the word.
Yes.
Vin continued to blush, cursing her lack of tact. Why hadn't anyone told her? Sazed, however, didn't seem offended. He never seemed to get angry about anything.
Probably a function of his condition. That's what the breeders must want. Docile, even-tempered stewards.
So that, combined with what he's about to say regarding the Terrace penchant for seeking subjugation, and we're about to get to that, it had me thinking of generational trauma and breeding, because we know that they're the eugenics of it, but not just physical eugenics, but behavioral eugenics as well.
Yeah, that's how dog breeds were created. Like certain temperaments were bred for. So that's what they've done.
Exactly where my mind went. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so disturbed.
That's really dark.
This evil is, look, we knew there was evil, but this is what he's been doing, Lord Ruler person. It's been a whole, and that is why I'm like, I want to know what his problem is with them and why. Like, this thing about what happened between him and Terracemen is deeply fascinating and very important to me to find out.
I agree. There is clearly a special kind of ire for Terrace. But honestly, which makes one wonder, is the Lord Ruler keeping them alive specifically to suffer then? Because, why not just wipe them all out? Why not?
Why does he need them? Clearly he needs them for something. It must be I want it to be a good reason. That's one way you could disappoint, I suppose, is like not giving me a good enough reason. But I feel like it would be it will be good enough, and I want to know about it.
Yeah.
You're a rebel, Sazed. You're fighting the Lord Ruler.
I am something of a deviant, and my people are not as completely subjugated as the Lord Ruler would believe, I think. We hide keepers beneath his wary eyes, and some of us gathers the courage to break our training. He shook his head. Doing so is no easy task. We are a weak people, mistress. We are eager to do as we are told, quick to seek subjugation. Even I, whom you have dubbed a rebel, immediately sought out a position of stewardship and subservience. We are not so brave as we would wish, I think.
You were brave enough to save me.
Sazed smiled. But there was an element of obedience in that, too. I promised Master Kelsier that I would see to your safety. She had wondered if he'd had a reason for his actions. After all, who would risk their life simply to save Vin?
That kind of made me sad. She doesn't think that she merits saving merely because Sazed or Kelsier like her or
Yeah.
think she has value or merit.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so she immediately went with that. She was like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, that makes sense." And he said there is an element of obedience with that. It's part of it, but he doesn't. It's not saying that. He's not saying to her, "Oh, I only did that because I was told to." Like she's
Right.
taking it to the extreme.
I mean, however Sazed has to justify it in his mind,
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that there might be a little bit of cope in his
Yes.
justification. I think he saved her because he cares about her and he wanted to.
Mm.
And
And yeah, and there is there could be personal confusion there. Like, what do you do because of your like? There's no dividing line between your temperament biologically, I suppose, and your actions. He's trying to. Where do you draw that line? Be like, oh, I did this because I was bred this way. It's like it's still you, and you still have feelings and things. So yeah, I think there is an element of cope there. But the point is, I think he still knows that he gives a damn about Vin, but Vin just took it. She was psychologically ready to take that answer because she also wonders why anyone would risk themselves to save her.
yes.
So yeah, she's taken it to the wrong place, and we saw you, Vin. We saw that.
She sat for a moment in thought, and Sazed turned back to his book. Finally, she spoke again, drawing the terraceman's attention.
Sazed?
Yes, mistress?
Who betrayed Kelsier 3 years ago?
Sazed paused, then set down his fountain pen. The facts are unclear, mistress. Most of the crew assumes it was Mare, I think.
Ah, we thought it was Mare.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, we thought it was Mare. Why did we think it was Mare?
Well, I remember we had discussed the possibility of it being Mare, like to either protect Kelsier from a harsher punishment than he would have otherwise gotten,
Yeah.
or because she was forced to in some way. We were just theorizing, but it had never been explicitly stated.
Okay, because I'm like, yeah, I felt like it was explicitly stated because, but it hasn't been explicit. You're right, it hasn't. They've said, despite what she did, that's as close as we got.
Yes, which
Yeah.
suggests, it was vague, and it suggests that I think Marsh, who was the one to say that, believes it. So clearly, the crew thinks it was Mare.
Yeah,
but not all.
Yeah, and it's kind of assumed that everyone has assumed it, but it's not confirmed, and that is also with what we were thinking, where we're like, it couldn't. They're assuming that somebody must have betrayed them, and that's why the Inquisitors were there. But it's like, no, that they were just that's just they're there all the time. So we in the previous chapters we were like, maybe there wasn't a certain betrayal because it seems like those Inquisitors are always there, and they haven't had that thought yet. They haven't gone, oh, maybe there was no betrayal. So maybe there's some extra element, some other action that is very much betrayal, not just the Inquisitors being there, but like, something further, something more solid that proves there was betrayal. But so far, it seems like the only evidence of betrayal was the Inquisitors' presence. And we have theorized, we don't know, but we have theorized that they're just always there. There's no need, there was no betrayal. And as we go further into this conversation as well, it is still unconfirmed as to who it really was, but there is just an assumption that it's Mare. Yes. And this is the first time that it has been stated the assumption is Mare.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the crew assumes it was Mare, I think.
Mare? Kelsier's wife.
Apparently, she was one of the only people who could have done it. In addition, the Lord Ruler himself implicated her.
So there's that. There's the actual thing of he made.
But
yeah.
But was it just him taunting? Was it him twisting the knife?
Mm-hmm. Making it. It's. You see, look, you have nothing. Even your wife has betrayed you. Yeah, exactly. There could be more concrete evidence that makes it look like there was betrayal, but that concrete evidence is just made up by the Lord Ruler because he's evil.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't she sent to the pits too?
She died there.
That is not an answer, Sazed.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That
So you're saying she it's what that she wasn't sent to the. Are you saying that he's implying she wasn't sent there? That
yes,
she went there? Did she try and like save him and then she died there? Is that what you're
in,
thinking?
and entirely possible. Sazed does not say, yes, Vin, she was sent to the pits with Kelsier. He specifically says she died there. It
I
is
feel like you're onto
entirely
something.
possible if Mare did betray the crew
Mm-hmm.
and she got off scot-free and went to the pits to rub it into
Mm-hmm.
Kelsier's face, and then maybe Kelsier killed Mare, and that's what awoke his allomantic powers or something.
Whoa, that's insane. I didn't take it that far. I thought it was that
The,
she would go there to try and save him.
or that, or whatever happened to Renault, the same thing happened to Mare, and someone was pretending to be Mare and betrayed the crew.
Hmm. Oh my gosh. We
There
just
are
need to know.
options.
Yes, don't stay away from the spoilers. All of our theories. What's great is that having these theories and then it's revealed to us. But I generally just pay huge attention to what you theorize because it comes true. You've called most of the things, so I'm
I
excited.
don't think I've called most of the things.
If there has ever been a call, it's been yours. So anyway, I'm excited. I want to know. So look, I hope that Kelsier didn't kill me, but it's a possibility, and it's very clear that this is one of those George R. R. Martin sort of misguiding, letting her believe a certain thing because he's like, she died there. So it's easy for you to just walk around and go, okay, that means that she was sent there. But also, why would Sazed lie? I don't know why. But anyway, she died there. Maybe Sazed doesn't know. That's the only thing he can tell her.
Fair.
Hmm.
It could be that I'm looking too much into this, or I'm looking exactly enough into it.
And we shall find out.
Mr. Kelsier is reticent about the pits, but I sense that the scars he bears from that horrid place go much deeper than the ones you see on his arms. I don't think he ever knew if she was the traitor or not.
My brother said that anyone would betray you if they had the right chance and a good enough motive.
Sazed frowned. Even if such a thing were true, I would not want to live believing it.
It seems better than what happened to Kelsier, being turned over to the Lord Ruler by one you thought you loved.
Okay, look,
That's
Vin, the one you thought you loved,
yes,
at
I
no
also went there. Yes.
at no point do I think or have I thought that Kelsier didn't
Stopped loving.
love Mare
Exactly.
or stopped loving.
Yeah, she doesn't know anything about like she does. This is just her not understanding love.
Yes.
Because Lord Ruler, one you thought you loved, like, oh, just because somebody betrayed you, that somehow you don't love them anymore. Oh, if only that was true.
Did
That's
she
not
at
how
any
stuff
point
works.
love? Did she love Reen before Reen betrayed her
I wonder.
or left her?
Yeah, I don't know if she's had love. I don't know if she understands what love is. I want to know what love is. Yeah.
Look, that's a dark sentence right there, and
Yeah.
another big misread of Kelsier.
I love it because, yes, all of these misreads and things, that's part of what Vin's character is. You would expect her to not have this knowledge. So it's good. It's juicy. I like it. But we want her to learn more. You thought you loved. Oh, I'm so glad that I also went. I was like, whoa. That is what? Like the thought that most people would have is someone who you thought loved you, so you would think, oh, this person loves me, they wouldn't betray me. That's the thing that breaks your heart, is that you thought that they loved you. That's the thought that gets changed, not the fact that you love them. That's the part that hurts, that, oh, this betrayal means they don't love me, not this betrayal means I don't love them.
Yes.
All
well
that
said.
from one sentence. Thank you, Brandon Sanderson. Love it. Kelsier is different lately. He seems more reserved. Is that because he feels guilty for what happened to me?
I suspect that is part of it. Sazed said. However, he is also coming to realize that there is a large difference between heading a small crew of thieves and organizing a large rebellion. He can't take the risks he once did. The process is changing him for the better, I think.
I think it's changing them all for the better.
Yeah. This is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This is a good change. That him being more aware of consequences and people less flippant. You do need to have quite large balls to do what he's doing, but you also need to take more calculated risks. Be a lot more considerate of what's going on. So yeah, I agree. I agree with the positive arc that he's on, and Vin did notice that he feels guilty, and also for her, she's fascinated by the fact that he feels guilty at all, because it's like you're not supposed to have guilt. You're not supposed to care about. It's supposed to be everybody else's fault, their own actions. Everyone's responsible for their own actions. Kelsia was supposed to just be like, yeah, she wanted to come along. That's why she's in the position she is. I'm not going to feel guilty for it. So she's fascinated, or at least like she's like, really? That's part of her thought process, is going through, oh look, this crew leader actually has guilt and conscience for things that he does. And Kelsey is noticing, yes, I have guilt and conscience for things I do. I can't just play around with people's lives the way that I thought I could. Yeah. He thought he could, but it's not as easy as he thinks. And we knew that. We knew that about him. We knew he cared.
Agreed.
Vin wasn't so certain, but she remained silent, realizing with frustration how tired she was. Even sitting on a stool seemed strenuous to her now. Go and sleep, mistress, Sazed said, picking up his pen and relocating his place in the tome with his finger. You survived some things that probably should have killed you. Give your body the thanks it deserves. Let it rest. Vin nodded tiredly, then climbed to her feet and left him scribbling quietly in the afternoon light.
End chapter.
And chapter. What I don't think it was on purpose over here, Sazed. So I don't think Sazed is bringing it up because there is no thanks, but just the word thanks, like give your body the thanks it needs or whatever. I was like, yeah, where is the thanks to Sazed for saving her? Like, could you not say that, baby? Vin, maybe just say thank you for saving my life. But okay, I guess it's understood. Maybe it's uncomfortable and difficult to say that because that's then acknowledging that there was something done for her, and I don't know. But I would have liked her to have mentioned some sort of thanks to Sazed.
Yeah, that would have been nice, because there wasn't at any point an inner thought regarding whether or not she should thank him or not.
Maybe that is something so emotionally large she doesn't know how to approach it. Actually, she doesn't know how to say thank you for something like that.
I think that's the better take, 100%.
I don't think it's an oversight. I think she just doesn't know how to do it, and I don't think he's. If he was a different kind of character, him mentioning thanks would be a passive-aggressive way of saying, "Hey, you didn't thank me." But I don't think that's the way it is. I think it just so happened that the word thanks made me think, "Holy crap! Yeah, she still hasn't thanked him." But it all makes sense why she wouldn't. So beautiful character work. Oh, love it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't think that there would be so much to talk about in this chapter as we managed to talk about.
Yeah, because not much actually happened, but there's so much that we're thinking about around all of this interaction.
Yes.
Yeah, we will find all the things and think all the things. Yay! I loved it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Anything
else?
Not that I can think of. I had a good time reading this chapter. I've had a fun time discussing it with you.
Yes, there's more of it. It's even more, like, it's not that when I read it, I didn't have much to think about or anything like that. There's just way more. It feels like there was just way more than, it just feels like there was way more to talk about than I expected. But that doesn't mean that I felt like this chapter was empty. That's what I mean.
Right. No, we were just exceptionally thorough in our discussion that I don't think there's much left to discuss at this point.
Go us. We're so efficient.
So thank you, everyone, for listening. I suppose that we'll leave it here.
Yes. like and subscribe to the No One Asked You podcast.
And to that darn Kitteh.
And have a nice laugh.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.